nobody wins when the family feels.
All of my life I've been wild and couldn't control it. And my mama couldn't control me. 8 years old, I was passing the doty. That nigga dead, he don't even know it. You ain't trying to get your hands dirty, what you in it for? I done robbed plenty folks, I done cut plenty dope. And I know the nigga that shot my nigga, but he ain't standing though.
You're here today?
I do.
I want to talk about the incident that brings you here today. I want to take you back to November 26, 27 of 2022, okay?
Okay.
Do you remember the night, November 26, 2022?
I do.
You took his wife and said bye. You showed no remorse for him. None. Not for me, not for my daughter, not for his kids. I can't believe that I felt sorry for you for a moment. But I didn't know all the facts. I didn't know everything. I have no remorse for you. I have no empathy because you had no remorse for my son and you showed no empathy for him. You deserve every single year they can give to you.
Family, I won't hold too much of you guys' time today because we're going to court. I want you guys to let me know based on the information provided. Do you guys feel as if though this was self-defense or a clear-cut case or M1? Family, meet Quaneesha Johnson, female dancer, a mother of 3. Less than 24 hours ago, she was recently sentenced to 20 years in prison, but was able to walk free while on bail.
Right after the sentencing, Julia, what did she have to say?
Spoke to her for the first time, Ted, because even though she was sentenced to 5 years confinement, she is out on bond pending her appeal. So we got to see her walking out of the courthouse with her children, with her family. They've been upbeat when they go into the courtroom every day, but today was a different kind of relief, a different kind of happiness from those family members. And here's what she had to say about those who've been watching this trial and how she feels about everything that happened.
Something I will have to live for the rest of my life. It's sad. I mean, they say people show no remorse. I'm very remorseful. Just because I don't sit there and cry, and I can't cry on cue. I'm mentally disturbed. I'm disturbed and whole, you know. I can't express it enough. Like, I love Demonte to death, and I still to this day do. And I will always do.
What would you change about that night if you could go back?
What I would do, probably would. I mean, I didn't know where to go, but you know, if I could have got my kids and left, which I was aiming to do, I don't really think there's anything else that I could have changed. You know, that was my home, my kids was in there. All I wanted to do was retrieve my kids.
Later in the video, we'll find out that the 29-year-old Quaneesha Johnson, and here actually step by step on what took place that night, was held responsible for taking the life of her kid's father, Demonte Smith. May he rest in peace, and love condolences to his family. He was a rapper and went by the stage name It's Dolo. He even had tracks like Hands Dirty that featured his baby mother in the video.
All of my life I've been wild and couldn't control it, and my mama couldn't control.
So before we discuss how he unfortunately lost his life due to his baby mother, and hear from Quaneesha herself during trial, and talk about the case and get you guys' conclusion at the end, I want you guys to remember, I won't give you no angle, I just give you the story. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We're gonna jump right to it. Authorities say a DeKalb father has passed away. Demonte Smith passed away from injuries he sustained from a shooting prompted by a domestic dispute with his baby mother. It was a Sunday. The situation ended up turning deadly. 29-year-old Quaneesha Johnson ended up shooting her children's father multiple times. Now it's key for later in the video that you guys understand that authorities came to that house well before that situation on that same day. Police said they found Demonte with a gunshot wound to the chest. He was taken to the hospital where he was pronounced deceased. I want to give you guys more information before I play this home recording. Around 11 a.m., police were called to a home on the 700 block of Enderbury Lane because of a domestic dispute. However, police later said that the emergency was changed to a person shot call. Investigators think that the fight got so bad that shots were fired. Quaneesha Johnson, who was 29 years old as we mentioned, was found to be the suspect. She was charged with M1 and aggravated assault. She was arrested in front of her kids. This is the home footage of that very moment. And listen to Quaneesha say, "I told y'all to do something at the very beginning." So now we got the basics out the way. It was a week-long trial, but just this past Monday, August 28th, 2023, she was sentenced to 20 years with 5 years confinement. Now before we get to the conclusion, I want you guys to check out Quaneesha taking a stand, giving the jury step by step on what happened that night.
And where do you currently reside?
In Atlanta, Georgia.
And where did you reside before that?
796 Mary Lane in Atlanta, Georgia.
And tell me, Ms. Johnson, what do you do for a living?
I work with autistic kids. I'm a behavioral health technician.
And what did you do before that?
I was working at 8 hours for hookah, doing hookah.
Okay. How long have you lived at your current address?
Since March of this year.
796 Edenberry address, how long did you live there?
A year.
Do you remember when you moved into that home?
December 1st of 2021.
And was that a rental property or a house you owned?
It was a rental property.
And were you the primary person on the lease?
I was.
You were the one who signed the lease?
I am.
And were you the one who paid the rent every month at that property?
Yes, I was.
Were all the utilities and everything in your name?
Yes, they was.
Ms. Johnson, you know why you're here today?
I do.
I want to talk about the incident that brings you here today. I want to take you back to November 26, 27 of 2022, okay?
Okay.
Do you remember the night, November 26, 2022?
I do.
Tell us what happened that night.
I was home studying for my RBT certificate. I get a phone call from my girlfriend on a three-way FaceTime call, inviting me to go out for one of their birthdays. I agree to go out. I get up, I prepare to get dressed to go outside. During our conversation, we was getting dressed, whatever. During our conversation, I let DeMonte know where I was going. That was it. I got ready to go. I leave out. We go to one club.
Well, let's go back.
Okay.
Tell us approximately what time it is at night.
11, like 10 or 11.
About 11 o'clock at night on November 26th.
Correct.
Okay. And DeMonte's at the house with you?
He was.
And what about your kids?
They were there as well.
And where were they at that point?
My two daughters were asleep in their room, and my newborn was with DeMonte.
Okay. Was the newborn asleep at that point?
She was.
Was she asleep in the crib?
She was.
And so you get the call 11 o'clock at night, you get dressed, you let DeMonte know where you're going. What happens after that?
I leave to go out. We go to one club.
What was the name of the club?
Zari.
Okay.
We're there, just partying, leave that club around 2, go to the after hour, which is the after hour that I was working at.
And what's the name of the place you were working?
It's called Taste.
Okay.
We get there, we're there for about an hour. My girlfriends and another coworker gets into an altercation. I go to the bathroom, I communicate the altercation with DeMonte. We stayed for a little bit longer. They get into the altercation reoccurred. They now about to fight. We leave the after hour.
Let's go back. About what time is this when you communicate with the Monte about the altercation?
Now this is about 4.
Okay. And when you say communicate, was it a text message or a phone call?
I called him. I went to the bathroom and called him.
And was he up at 4 a.m.?
He was.
Okay. And you actually talked to him?
I did.
And then what happens after that?
He advised me that he was going to send someone to make sure I was okay. I let him know I was okay. It wasn't me that was in a fight with my girlfriends and that we were leaving. And that I was sharing my location with him.
And what did you do next?
I shared my location with him. We left. Me and my girlfriends met up at the local gas station because my car needed gas to figure out where we were going to go next because I didn't want to go home.
Now, tell us, what was your relationship to DeMonte at this time?
He was my baby father.
Okay. Was he living with you at this time?
He was staying there. He had him living there.
Tell me what you mean by staying.
So when I say staying, so when we get back to when I had my daughter, because that's how it leads up to him staying there. So he was incarcerated. He got incarcerated in August. I got a phone call back in August of his incarceration. I helped him get out or whatever. And when he gets out late September, he expressed that he had nowhere to go. That the house that he was staying to prior to getting incarcerated, he couldn't stay there no more because his friend's mom was tripping, is what he said. I had the baby. I did allow him to come, to be with the baby and stay there since he had nowhere to go.
And while you're out that particular night, did you have anything to drink?
I did.
What did you drink?
Casamigos.
How much?
Probably like 2 or 3 shots.
And was it at the first place or the second place?
That was at the first place.
And did you have anything to drink at the second location?
I didn't.
So after you let him know the altercation at the second location, tell him you'll drop the location, where do you go next? What happens next?
We go to an hour called Future.
Now, is that the spot you worked at?
No, I worked at Taste. The Future is a different hour.
And about what time is it now?
It's about 6, maybe roughly 7.
So this is an after hours spot. Okay. And do you have your phone on you?
I do.
Tell us what happens next.
Upon arriving to Taste, I leave. I have 2 phones. I left one phone in the car because it has the audio malfunction. I can't hear out of it. I take my personal phone inside the club with me. I get there. I'm smoking hookah. My phone dies while I'm in there. Once my phone dies, I leave.
Why do you have 2 phones?
Because I own a clothing line.
Okay. And is one phone business and one phone personal?
Correct.
So you left your business phone in your car and took your personal phone inside?
Yes.
And you said while you were in there, your phone died?
Yes.
Do you remember what time or around what time you realized that your phone had died?
I don't, because it was dead.
But at some point, you realize your phone is dead, and is that when you leave the club?
Yes.
All right. Tell us what happens after that.
I leave the club. I go back to my car. I immediately put my phone on the charger.
What time is it when you actually realize what time is it? What time is it? Or around what time is it?
Around 9 something.
Okay. And tell us what happens next.
My phone cuts on. I'm seeing the text messages from my aunts, a few text messages from Dolo. I open my aunt's text messages because it was the first ones on there. As I'm reading the messages, my aunt's call. I answer the phone call. It's my aunt.
What's Rochelle's last name?
Noel.
And what's Andrea's last name?
Gonzalez.
Okay.
We're all on the 3 right now. Andrea's hysterical. She's, where the F have you been? Dodo said you was in a fight. I've been calling hospitals, police departments. I reassured them that DeMonte had my location, and I let them know where I was and that everything was okay. As I'm letting them know that everything's okay, Rochelle adds Dolo into Demonte into the phone call.
So Rochelle, so now it's you on the phone, your aunt Rochelle Newell, your aunt Andrea Gonzalez, and then Rochelle adds Demonte Smith onto the phone call.
Yes.
And what happens next?
Demonte gets on the phone. He gets on there very. Sorry, connect. Where the F you been at? You tripping? You think I'm a lame? I tell him, I said, you know where I've been at, you have my location. He then says, when you get here, I'm gonna beat your A. And hangs up.
And both your aunts were on the phone.
Yes.
And this happened while all four of you are on.
Yes.
And then he hangs up.
Yes.
Tell us what happens after that.
After he hangs up, my aunt is now against her. I know he just said it. I tell her, don't worry about it, I'm gonna call the police. I grab my business phone and I immediately call 911.
Okay. And what happens next?
I call 911, I let them know that I'm en route to my home, that I just received a verbal and the text, at the time I see the text message of him text me that he was gonna beat my ASS on crib. I then let them know I'm receiving verbal and text messages threats stating that I'm gonna get beaten when I get home by my boyfriend. Well, I tell him at the time my boyfriend, and that I was scared to go home and I needed authorities to help me.
Now, was there any reason why you took these threats seriously?
Yes, because not even 2 weeks ago, he followed through with his threats before.
Okay. When you say he followed through with his threats, what do you mean?
Around 2 weeks ago, prior to the 26th, I was working at the Taste restaurant at the hour, and he threatened to beat my ASS again. And when I came in the house, he was coming down the steps and he then slammed me on my face.
Okay. When you say Judge made the witness step down,
Yes.
I want you to show us what happened prior to that. You can use me.
So I'm coming in the house. I come in the house at first.
Ms. Johnson, you need to speak up.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm coming in the house. As I come in the house, I'm thinking like he's hiding behind the door. I look behind the door. He wasn't behind the door. He was actually coming down the steps. He came. So he's coming down the steps. When I walked in the door, he went like this, hand me on my face, and he still has my coat. And he's like this, like this, he's like saying stuff to me. I start to cry. Once I start crying, he then gets off and I tell him he has to go.
Yeah, you can go back up. And Ms. Johnson, after that incident, so he slams you on your face, is over you, shaking you, and when did he stop?
When I began to cry.
And did you call police?
I did.
What did you do next?
I asked him to leave. I went upstairs and I contacted his mom, or tried to contact his mom.
I'm going to show her, Your Honor, what's marked as Defense Exhibit 1. So you take a look at this, Ms. Johnson. Do you recognize that text message exchange?
I do.
And who was that text message exchange between?
Myself and Demonte's mother.
And is that text message the same message you sent Demonte's mother the day that he slammed you on your face?
Yes.
Has anything been changed or altered about it at all?
No.
Is it in the same or similar condition as when you sent that text message?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time we will move to admit Defense Exhibit 1, text message between Ms. Johnson and Demonte's mother into evidence.
Any objections?
Yes, Judge. May we approach?
Is it
without the text. Ms. Johnson, what's the date on that text message?
Sunday, November 13th, 2022.
And that text message was to Mr. DeMonte Smith's mother?
Yes.
Tell us what you told Mr. Smith's mother.
That DeMonte had slammed me on my face, on the ground, on my face, and I was trying not to take it too far.
And why don't you read the text message exactly for us, just the one you sent?
DeMonte just slammed me to the ground on my face. I'm trying not to take this too far annoying situation. Can you please call and have him take a walk and give me some space right now, please?
And this was right after the incident you just showed us?
Immediately after.
And when you text his mom, I know his situation, what did you mean?
Him just getting released from jail.
Okay. And when you said I didn't want to take it too far, what did you mean?
Calling authorities, getting him rearrested.
So on the night of November, I guess the morning, so that happened, what was the date again?
November 13th at 6:28 a.m.
So on the morning of November 27th, when you see these text messages and are on the phone with your aunt and get these verbal threats, is that why you took it so serious?
Absolutely.
And you called 911. And tell us what happens after you call 911.
When I called 911 and let them know that I was receiving threats verbally and through text messages, I asked them if they asked my escort me home because I was scared for my life. I did let them know that he did prior to this threatened me prior to this and followed through with it. He followed through with his threat prior. They told me that they would dispatch someone to come out and that was it.
And then what happened after that?
And then minutes later, I get a call from Officer Amy on her personal phone. I answered her. She lets me know that she was at my location, meaning at my home. I tell her that I'm en route. She asks me to give her basically like a summary of what was going on. I informed her that I was receiving threats from my baby father and that he had prior to this incident put his hands on me. She asked me if he lives with me. I told him that he just got out of jail and that he stays there. And she tells me that she'll be there or she'll see me when I get there basically.
Okay. And about how far were you from your house when you talked to, so you talked to 911 and then you talked to Officer Lamy directly. And then about how far were you from your house when you talked to Officer Lamy?
Probably about 15 minutes too.
Okay. And then tell us what happens, and where are you still on the phone with your aunts at this time?
I'm on the whole entire time.
Were both of them on the phone, Rochelle and Andrea? And then tell us what happens after that.
After Officer Lamy disconnects, she calls back a couple minutes later telling me that she had been dispatched to another situation that she had to attend to that one, and she let me know to call 911 again to dispatch and let them know that she was to come back out and that I was told to call to give her dispatch back.
And so she tells you she's been dispatched again. When you get close, just call again.
Yes.
And what did you do?
When I got closer, I called again.
Did you call her personal phone directly or?
I called 911.
Okay. And what happened?
I called 911, let them know that I was closer. I let them know that I was in the area and that I didn't go to the house. And that I was told by an officer that had already came out to call 911 again to have her dispatch and that she would be fairly close and that to wait for her to come in.
And what did you do?
I waited.
And where were you waiting at?
Outside of a crosswalk with my cul-de-sac.
And tell us what happens after that.
I waited a little longer and then I called again. And when I called again, I let them know that I had been waiting. At this time, I didn't know how long I was waiting. I had dozed off for a second. So when I called back, I let them know, or I say that I've been waiting for about an hour. The dispatcher gets my information. He informs me that he do see the calls, the prior calls, and that someone was on their way. and then some just for being out.
Okay. When you doze off, were your aunt still on the phone?
There.
Okay. And so you've talked to 911 once. They dispatched Officer Lamy. You talked to Officer Lamy, explained the situation when she was there waiting for you. You talked to her again when she went to dispatch somewhere else. You called 911 again when you got there. You fell asleep for a while and called 911 again.
I did.
And they said they would dispatch somebody.
They did.
And then what happened after that?
And I was on the phone with my aunts. I didn't look at my alarm system. I'm looking at the cameras. I then noticed that the camera that was in my bedroom had been turned around. So I then triggered my alarm system, my other alarm system, to have their dispatcher reach out to me and ask me if I needed authorities.
And did that work?
It did.
And what happened?
The dispatcher called me, asked me if I needed assistance. I did inform her that I wanted her to dispatch police officers and that I needed to be escorted into my home.
Okay. And then approximately how much longer did you wait for someone to be dispatched?
I called again after that. That's when I talked to the female officer.
Okay.
Told her about my kids being in the home and that I was concerned about the well-being. I didn't know what was going on in my home and that Devontae was mad and I didn't know if my kids were okay or not. Yeah.
Okay. And what happens after that?
I'll leave from the parking spot that I was at and I'll leave out of leave out of the area to flag down a police officer.
And did you find a police officer to flag down?
I did.
And who was that?
Officer Cross was parked. I flagged him down and asked him to leave out of my bed.
Okay. And did he follow you back?
He did.
And tell us what happens after that.
He followed me back. We arrived at my home. I got out of the car. He gets out of his car. He asked me, tell him about the text. I told him I was receiving threatening text messages. He knocks on the door. He asks Devontae to come out. He doesn't. I didn't inform him that I had a fire. He asked me, is there any weapons in the home? I tell him, no, there isn't. If anything, it's a kitchen. He's using a kitchen utensil. I had my firearm on me. He asked me to place my firearm in the car. I do so. At this point, Officer Lamy is walking up. They asked me to unlock the door and step back. I did so.
Can I ask you, Ms. Johnson, why did you wait so long for authorities to escort you or be with you at the house?
Because I was scared to enter.
Okay. Now, tell us what happens after that. When you unlock the door, Officer Lamy asked Devontae to come out. Tell us what happens next.
It takes him a while to come out. He then comes out with my daughter, my newborn, in his arms.
Now, you were showing Officer Lamy surveillance video.
Asked him to put my daughter in the home.
And did Officer Krause instruct Mr. Smith to give you your daughter so you could take her in the house?
He does.
And did he follow the officer's instructions?
He did.
Now, tell us what happens between you and Devontae while the officers are there.
After I asked for him to give my baby so I could take her in the house, he then goes to say, BICCH, this is my baby too. You wasn't worried about her. He was out all night being a thot, effing men. He just started to become disrespectful. I responded to his disrespect, telling him that his name isn't on the birth certificate and technically it's not his daughter. He calls me a stripper. I calls him broke. I don't remember.
Now, were you scared at that point?
I was still scared, but I felt like I was able to respond to his disrespect.
Why was that?
Because the cops were there and I didn't think that they would leave us alone.
And you had put your firearm in the car.
I did.
Can I ask you, you had your firearm on you when he was threatening you. You could have just gone to your house with your firearm. Why would you call police?
Because I never would have thought it. I called police to protect me. I was never thinking of using my firearm at all.
So tell us what happens after. So you and him argue back and forth. We've all seen it. You've been here through the trial. We've all seen it. And then tell us what happens as the argument is ensuing and police officers are about to leave. Tell us what happens.
Officer Lamy asked me a question. She asked me, she's telling me that he stays here. She's asking me, how does he, or something about him staying there. And I told her and explained to her that he had just got out of the Cape County jail and that I was allowing him to stay there. He has no residence there. Let her know that his name is not on the lease, nothing. As I'm telling her that she's trying to tell me something else. So it appeared that I was like talking over her, but I was just finishing my explanation of him not having residency here, asking them to remove him from the household. Officer Cross then tells me he can go back inside with the baby. He goes inside. I'm standing in the threshold of the doorway. As he walks past me, he tells me when the cops leave, he's gonna beat my ass.
And were you on the phone with someone?
I never got off the phone. My parents was on the phone the entire time.
Were both of them on the phone?
Yes, they were.
And that's Rochelle Newell, Andrea Gonzalez.
Yes.
And he says when the cops leave, I'm gonna beat your ass.
Yes.
And do you inform the cops of what he's just said?
Immediately.
And what do they do? What's their response?
I asked them, I said, did y'all just hear him? I repeated what he just said. They didn't say, I don't believe they said anything.
And what happens after that?
I asked, continuing to speak as of, okay, so what am I to do in a matter of defending myself? I didn't say if I shoot him out of self-defense because he keeps putting his hands on me, then I held accountable.
And what's the response?
Also, then he says, if you do that, just make sure you're able to articulate it in court.
And what do the officers do next?
Walk home.
And DeMonte's in the house?
Yes.
And they leave you at the house?
Yes.
Tell us what happens after that.
In the midst of them walking off and me being in the threshold of my doorway, my dogs had got out. My dogs walked down the street, running down the street. My Nala is now in the doorway, helped me get the dogs back in the home. Tend to go up the street to get my dogs, I bring them back. I advise my dogs to go in the house prior to going inside my home. I do go to my car to retrieve my firearm and a tie rod.
Now, Ms. Johnson, you said that you were licensed to carry.
I am.
Tell us what it means to be licensed to carry.
To be able to hold a firearm and force defense areas like for safety and precautions.
What are requirements you had to go through to obtain a license to carry?
FBI clearance.
Anything else?
No, Georgia didn't. No, Georgia don't. You don't need to permit a license to carry in the state of Georgia. Well, background check. I did with FBI clearance.
Okay. So you go outside to get your dogs run outside. You go outside to get your dogs. And while you're outside, you go to your car and you grab your firearm. Where do you put your firearm?
In my right sweatpants pocket.
And you grab anything else?
Tie rod.
Okay. And when you say a tie rod, how big is it? How thick is it?
It's not really that thick. It's probably about this thick and probably about this long.
Now, why did you grab your firearm and the tie rod? The house, tell us what happens after that.
I go in the home. My daughters are downstairs in the living room area. I hand both of them the phone. I tell them, well, now they have the phone. I hand Marie the phone. I tell them to call the cops, let them know they're scared.
Why did you give your daughters a phone? So you contacted 911 multiple times. Police have responded. They've been at the scene. You've talked to them. Now you have your daughters calling 911. Why do you have your daughters calling 911?
Because the cops didn't hear from me. So I felt like they would hear from a minor, a child.
And you tell both of them to call 911?
I did.
And what do you do now?
I didn't go upstairs to retrieve my 2-month-old baby.
That's the youngest baby. You go upstairs to get the 2-month-old.
Yes,
And you got the tire iron in your hand?
I do.
All right, and tell us what happens next.
I get upstairs. As I get to the top of the steps, Devontae is coming out of the bedroom. I then back into the hallway. He's coming at me. He's telling me, police ASB for calling the cops. He says, I'm gonna beat you at 8 again when the cops leave. I tell him if he hit me, I show him the tire. I said, if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you with this.
Will you step down for us, Ms. Johnson? Just want to be able to get a visual. Let's say, I'm you. I got the tie rod in my hand. You come up the stairs and your bedroom is this way, right? I'm sorry, show me again.
So, I come up the steps. My
The bedroom is right here. Okay. And so you're coming up the stairs.
Come up the steps, he's coming out of the bedroom.
Okay. Now, what was your 2-month-old at?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
I was on the bedroom.
So let's do it this way so the jury has a view. So this is, let's say this is the hallway. And,
So I come up the steps.
right.
He's coming out of the bedroom. I'm waking up. I had the tie around my knees.
And at this point, he's saying things to you.
Please say when the cops leave, they're going to be my age. I tell him if you hit me, I'm going to hit you with the tire rod. That's coming at me and say, we would have me really F you up. Stop playing with me because then clenches at me. I goes to hit, swing the metal rod goes. Then charges at me, I just figure
And you say he charges at you. Like
dead.
Okay.
I just said
Okay. What was going through your mind, Ms. Johnson? I know it's difficult to go back to that moment, but tell me what was going through your mind at that moment.
I knew he was going to beat me.
But why did you feel that you had to defend yourself?
I couldn't beat him. I mean, I knew he was going to hurt me. I didn't call the cops left. I knew he was mad about that. I knew he was mad about me being out. He said he was going to beat me. He's done it before. I just knew it was going to happen.
And he lunged at you.
He did.
And at that moment, you just pulled your gun out.
I did.
One shot.
Yes, sir.
And you've heard the recording that you say, Bob.
I did.
Tell us what was going through your mind.
At that point, I can't even tell you. Honestly, I just know I shot and it was just like, I know, I don't know. Like, I just know that I had to defend myself.
And where were your daughters at?
They were downstairs.
And do you remember telling your daughters, tell him he hit me?
As we were walking out, I do recall saying that as we were once we got outside, I do recall saying that.
But you told the detective he didn't hit you.
Yes.
He just came at you, lunged at you.
Yes, I told him he didn't hit me that day. Yes.
And you felt like you had to do it to defend yourself from being injured by him again.
Yes.
And did you go down and give the police a statement?
I did.
Did you fully cooperate?
I did.
Did you tell them what had happened?
I did.
Did you give them access to your cell phone?
I did.
And what about the surveillance video in your house?
I gave them access to that as well.
And when you went outside, what did you say to the police who were still waiting outside?
That I told y'all he was going to do it.
And what happened after that?
I was handcuffed and put to a police car.
So you didn't have your phone or anything on you at that point?
I didn't.
Did you ever go back to that location?
I didn't.
Did anybody in your family ever go back to that location?
They went once They went to retrieve some of my items for my daughters because my daughters was transported to Philadelphia. Once they got there, my house was flooded. My cameras was ripped out of the wall. Everything was damaged. My roof was caved in. So it wasn't nothing really salvageable.
Ms. Johnson, how did it make you feel knowing what had happened?
It still makes me feel the same way. I never wanted it to happen. I didn't intend for it to happen. I didn't mean for it to happen.
But in that moment, you felt like you had to defend yourself.
I did.
No further questions, Emma.
So now we heard Ms. Johnson tell the jury on what happened. Let's listen to the victim mother talk about her son.
Ms. Campbell, can you also raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall give to the court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Can you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter?
Bernetta, B-E-R-N as in Nancy, E-T-T-A. Latoria, L-A-T-O-R-I-A. Campbell, C-A-M-P-B-E-L-L.
You can proceed.
I had a lot of things I wanted to say to you, Quaneesha. I sat in the airport wondering what I was going to put on this paper, and I realized that I can't read off a piece of paper. Your lawyer did a good job. He painted DeMonte as a monster. He beat everyone. But yet you had him in the house with you and your children over and over again. I know who my son was. He was sweet and loving. You know it. DeMonte was... I'm sorry. So we know that DeMonte was sweet and kind. He was a father of 3, since it was stated that he wasn't the father of this new child. He had 3 children, a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old that walks around with his paper and his picture and tries to show everyone that we meet on the street on who his father was. He's so happy and proud of him, but yet he would never know who he is. Who was he to you? He loved your children. He loved you. I heard the comments that you had made to him. I heard comments that was over and over again how he wasn't nothing. He was broke. You don't have this and you're not that. I remember him calling me. It was your birthday. And he was so sad that he didn't have any money in his pocket to do something for you. I cashed out him $100. He said, "Thank you, Mama." He said, "I love this girl. She a hustler. She grinds." He said, and everything on her body was real. I laughed. I said, "Boy, focus on what's important. Focus on how you are being treated by that person." But there was nothing I could say to him. He was head over heels in love with Quaneesha Johnson. I remember when I first met Quaneesha, my son called. He was at the Quick Trip. I came in town to bury my aunt. I was a turnaround trip. I told him I had to go back. I had no time to hang with him, to chop it up, as he say. I had to get back on the road because I had work the next day. But he said, "Mama, you gotta meet her. You gotta meet her." And I heard through the phone, "Over here, my MFing house ain't clean. MF this, MF that." And all I could think was, this man was trying to introduce you to his mother. And yet you couldn't even do that. He had to beg and plead to get you to come to the Quick Trip to say hello to me. I met your children. They were beautiful. The little girls were so sweet. Your son was sweet. Though my son kept telling me, "Don't tell him my real name." He said, because that little boy could be a little dangerous. I didn't understand what he was talking about. But yet, that's where he wanted to be. And I let it go. We came to your house and I sat outside. I told your baby girl, at the time I think she was like 3. And I said, "I'm taking Dolo back to St. Louis with me." And that little girl threw a tantrum, lay straight out in the grass and screamed and yelled, "Please don't take Dolo away from us. Please don't take him away." Your kids loved him and he loved them too. He was loving them when he couldn't love on his own kids. But what I do know about you in that first meeting was that you were no good for him. My son had a light that shined so bright that I had family, friends, parents, coaches, teachers calling me. No way, not DeMonte. There's no way, not DeMonte. You talking about DeMonte, who would help the kids in the school getting bullied? You talking about the same DeMonte who stops at the grocery store to help old ladies put their bags in their car? This is my son. That's who I know. They called me and told me, ma'am, do you know a DeMonte Smith? And my heart dropped. I had to describe my son to this woman. I'm sorry, to this man. And I knew at that moment that he was gone. Because see, a mother's intuition tells you everything. That Sunday, 2 o'clock, I fell to my knees in the middle of the store with pains, and I didn't understand why. Because my son wasn't here anymore. All night I tossed and turned. I had no idea what was wrong. And I got to work, and the medical examiner called, and I couldn't get it together. I blacked out. And then the detective called me, and my first words was, where is she? They said, who? Where is the woman that killed my son? Because I knew it was you. A darkness dwelled inside of you. And not only did I tell the examiner and the detective that, my family knew. See, remember, our last conversation was Thanksgiving. And DeMonte, this is the son I know. That smile so bright, that's what I knew. That day he called me on Thanksgiving and we FaceTime and we had so much fun. He got to see my sister that he hadn't seen since 2016. He got to see his cousin, standing 6'4". He was so proud of him. Told him he was coming down to see him playing in the next football game. But little did we know, in 3 days, he wouldn't be here. But I remember, because I know you do too, you wanted to go to Florida, take a trip. My son was on bond, not for putting his hands on no woman. He did something silly. Didn't pull over for the police. And I told my son, why are we taking penitentiary chances for a weekend getaway? Because to me, when you love somebody, you're thinking about their well-being too. And I'll never forget, he was smiling at me on the phone, and then he looked at you. His shoulders dropped, his smile left, his eyes got low, and I looked at my sister, and I said, my son is not safe. He is not safe in that house. You made him a monster. You made it seem like my son was beating children, when you know doggone well that boy was dangerous, and all he wanted to do was protect you. But you weren't gonna tell that story. You weren't gonna tell it all, but I'm telling it today because I want everyone to know, since it's being televised and for the whole world to see my pain, then they need to know who he was. I empathize with you. I couldn't believe it. I empathized because I'm a woman and I've been abused. I've been hit and kicked and punched. I've had arguments with my ex-husband, guns in the house, but I never ever thought about picking one up. I couldn't understand that part, but I really did empathize with you. I said maybe she don't deserve all that time. He did make a threat, and I can't ignore that. But what I couldn't ignore is you slapping me in my face, posting your woman, kissing on her. My son hadn't been gone for 8 weeks. That's what you did. Well, on this stand, you want to cry. But you weren't doing that then. Throwing lavish parties, making your flyers so you could perform on the pole. You didn't care about my son. Not one time. If you did, you would have known how hurtful and how painful it was to see all that stuff over social media like he was nothing. You took his life and said bye. You showed no remorse for him. None. Not for me, not for my daughter, not for his kids. I can't believe that I felt sorry for you for a moment. But I didn't know all the facts. I didn't know everything. I have no remorse for you. I have no empathy because you had no remorse for my son and you showed no empathy for him. You deserve every single year they can give to you. My daughter said, when you open your eyes and close your eyes, I want you to remember that you're not touching your kids like I can't touch mine. I want you to remember that my son can't hug his kids like you want to hug yours. You don't deserve it.
You don't deserve it, because if you get away with this, I promise you it'll happen again. Because it was easy for you to pull a trick and take a life. Not just my son's life. You took a human life. Where is the remorse for taking somebody off the face of the earth? You show none. You're going to continue to show none. And so she needs to get everything that she can get. Thank you for my time.
First and foremost, we want to say rest in peace to the victim once again. Love and condolences to the family. Like I asked in the very beginning, family, I gotta ask, based on the information that was provided, do you guys think this is a clear-cut M1, or do you think it's self-defense? If so, how you feel about the sentence? 20 years, 5 years confinement, and she was able to get bond after being sentenced. That's almost unheard of. Talk to me in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one.